Alright folks, here we are in game... Oops. I guess a couple people left the game. The other streamers, I hope they're okay. But here we are in game 4. And I actually need just a moment to fix scores. So Zeph, why don't you go ahead and start the introductions?
Certainly. In the bottom right hand corner we have the Terran player down 2-1 at the moment. He is CMStorm.Polt.
Yeah, stealing the red from Nerchio, or maybe Nerchio stole the blue from him, I don't know, but his opponent in the top left, he's blue, he's Xur against Acer.Nerchio. And this guy, I can't even get over, like, Polt is someone who wins ZOTACs back-to-back on North America. He has squared off against some of the best players I've seen in that tournament. Nerchio, though, what a scary guy to be able to already put Polt back against the wall the way he has. Again, guys, it's a best of 5, so first to 3 wins. If Nerchio wins this, Polt is out.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Nerchio seemed to, after the first game, kind of feel out Polt's style a little bit more and really exploit that with the counterattacks in the last couple of games. He just flooded units across the map, and that seemed to be Polt's weakness in this case. So it'll be interesting to see if Polt switches up his build this time round.
Well, Nerchio as well, you gotta keep in mind, both games, what he did kind of was very counterintuitive to the Reaper opening. Like, that's where it starts. Sure, the game wasn't decided by the fact that Polt went Reapers first, but it really kind of defines, like, for Nerchio, alright, not only do I need this to defend, if I want to counterattack, I'm gonna need this much more. And so we saw, God knows, 40 Zerglings so early.
Yeah, it was beautifully timed out, and perhaps Polt should have realize that, because when you get into the Zerg's base and you do scout the gas, that's got to be a factor. And I suppose he thought he maybe had a little bit more time to do damage than he actually did. But regardless, that is in the past now, and we do have a CC first once again in this game.
Yeah, it worked really well for him in the first game. Polt kind of think like, alright, look, this guy is such a good Zerg player. He knows how to handle my Reapers. I will, in fact, just go for that first greedy build that went... Well, if it worked well for him, it won him the game, why not do it again?
Yeah, absolutely. And he'll probably, in my opinion, stick to what he knows best, which is his usual Hellions into Reapers. No, excuse me, other way around. Reapers into Hellions into bio play with either Siege Tanks or Wouldn't Mind follow-up, because he seems to be very, very deadly with that. And sticking to what you know is obviously the best approach when you're down in a best of 5.
I really enjoy this. Again, Nerchio with that patrolling drone, anticipating the worker, waiting for the Reaper and the bunker combination, but just a scouting SCV this time. For once, innocence.
Yeah, and this time he sets it on a path towards the SCV right away. He doesn't want any more sneaky bunkers on the high ground.
Well, looking back at home, he's got that other command, or he's got 2 orbitals, sorry, my mistake, coming in, and of course, once this is complete, the income for Polt right now is nothing too extraordinary, but once he drops those mules, man, is that going to take off, allowing for extra bunkers, sorry, barracks, well, bunkers if he wants to, but barracks, factory, what have you.
And we do have the factory going down right now. I expect Hellions to pump out of there, or if he wants to be particularly defensive, he might choose the Widowmines. But I generally see him go Hellions, so I'm going to go ahead and guess that that's what he's going to do as these Lings across the map chase that SCV all the way home.
Yeah, good 9 times out of 10, it is Hellions first, but sometimes, especially on a map like Belshire, if you want to play super defensive, you get a couple Widowmines to stay at home first. But Polt, as you said, a player very fond of Hellions, I'd have to say, and for good reason too. He does a lot of damage with them.
Yeah, I think one of the more amazing parts of Polt's play is how long he keeps a small group of units alive. They just do not die. We saw it with the Marauder against the Roach attack, being lifted up into the medevac and then coming for a counterattack and getting like 8 or 9 kills total. And with the Hellions and Reapers, even before that, being able to deny the 3rd hatchery to take out Queens and Lings alike. So yeah, he's definitely deadly with his early game units.
Well, with the 3rd command center, the position the way it is, I'm a little curious if he plans to expand north. That seems to be the more common thing to do for Terrans on this map. A lot of this lower left base is very exposed to run-bys, especially Zergling run-bys later on in the game. And I don't know, creep spread. If Nerchio drops creep spread in the northern base and forces Polt to take that lower left, that could actually work out really well for him. We
yeah,
actually
absolutely.
have well, maybe not creep spread, but a speed lane going to be chilling here to deny this.
Yeah, Nerchio doesn't seem to be one of those Zergs that gets Overlord speed quite early on for the mid game, where you get all the Overlords and you just send them to every base on the map and start spitting creep. preemptively, but I mean, he could start floating an Overlord down there, and in fact, I think he's maybe floating the top right Overlord down there right now to be able to spread creep there just in case. So you may actually be quite right. He could force him into a position where he has to take the other base.
Yeah, it's not just Nerchio. That seems to be the common thing on this map, at least with Belshar. I haven't seen a lot of actual base base forcing rather, because on a lot of maps, yes, Zerg player will drop creep everywhere just because he wants to make sure that there's no third base, or at least for as long as possible. But on Belshir, more than any other map, it really does feel like this base gets pushed off the most.
Yeah, definitely. And the nice thing about actually taking the more northward base is that it provides a Terran with a way to be more aggressive, because all they have to do is fall back to that third location, and from there they can actually just walk up the short path towards the Zerg's third and continually rally up there and make it super hard for the Zerg to hold on to that base.
Alright, 3 really cool things happen while we're talking about that. One, Hellions doing as much scouting as possible. They see that the third base is just coming up, whatever, no big deal. Nerchio, though, canceling the creep tumor, does retain it, and in fact continues to spread creep behind the Hellion aggression. Roaches should be able to clean this up, may have to cancel, rebuild the hatchery, but also, take a look at this wall at the natural. Nerchio is not letting Hellions get into the base at all today. No way, no how.
Yeah, definitely. The only bad thing about that positioning, which, I mean, is a trade-off on any map, is that if the Terran does manage to get into a position where they're kind of right on your front doorstep, your upgrades are very vulnerable, but that's not going to be a problem for quite a while, if at all, for Nerchio in this game. He's going for the Spire and Baneling Nest now, and he's really starting to get some units out on the field just in case he needs them for a push. And yeah, a push will be coming hopefully in not too long for Polt, because he's starting to explode with that production again.
Yeah, and I did say 3 earlier. Third thing, of course, was the scan did go off in the main of Nerchio, but unfortunately caught just about nothing, as a lair in a spawning pool has no information whatsoever. But here comes a Zergling run by straight down to the third. There is Overlord spreading creep, though, just barely. However, our Widowmine lies in wait. It's already picked off, or at least hit something, must have been the Overlord. So Nerchio does have to be a bit careful. He does not want to walk over any landmines.
Yep. Definitely, but very nice job once again just laying that third base, and he'll know about the fourth base when that's taken as well. Now the Lynx are just going to sweep in here and try and deny that. There's another Widowmine there.
Ooh, gets every single Zergling. The splash damage on Widowmines is a little ridiculous.
Just a little.
I love too, like when you get that perfect clump when there's like 19 Baneling kills, 24 kills. It's just so sick to look at. But we got the armory on the way. We got a lot of barrack production again coming out of Polt. So I don't think we're... If he were to throw in a couple Hellbats, would be interesting to me, as he's not a player who typically does that. Mutalisk, though, and those Infestors are going to be out in the field here very shortly.
Yep, 5 Mutalisks coming down already. 2-2 halfway done, so he again has the upgrade lead. The 1-1 of Polt not even finished yet, but it will be finishing up in time with combat shields. To reach that sort of 12-minute timing where he's finally starting to pump out a hell of a lot of units.
Oh, and Nerchio accidentally gets the watchtower at the just perfect time to scout that army coming. We'll try to run past it, but there is actually not a lot of defense at home. Can he sneak past here? No, we wouldn't mind, of course, big danger as well. Kansas should pick off that turret, will pick off that turret on his way out. But oh, that wouldn't mind.
Damn.
Actually didn't get that many Zerglings, surprisingly.
Yeah, I think they were just a little bit out of the splash range, but the rest of the Zerglings get caught out by the Hellions nonetheless. Fourth base going down for Nerchio now.
Alright, well, Mutalisk also being deterred off by that singular missile turret. Nice forcing a stim, again, with no medevacs on the field. Always helps, but Mutalisk, oh, still going to get picked off, driven back and forth between the main and the natural. Lots of Marines here. But he will get out with most of the Mutalisks, so not too bad.
Yeah.
Oh, but Nerchio, getting a little greedy perhaps, sticking around a little too long.
He does spot the 2 factories being built in the natural there, though. One with a tech lab and one with a reactor. So he's probably going to get drilling claws from there, and that also allows him to start producing a few Thors in response to the Ultralisks once more, and churn out Widow Mines like there's no tomorrow. That's such a key thing here in this composition for Polt.
Yeah, I think I went over the numbers with Penguin. I think you need 5, is it, Widowmine hits to actually kill an Ultralisk?
Yeah,
and of course, they're so big, they soak all that splash damage, so it's a beefy unit, to say the least.
And another counterattack into the third base for Polt while he's going for the supply depots for the time being, and he's forced Polt to turn around with his push, so that's a little win for Nerchio if he can get out of there with his units.
Now, the Zergling's going to be destined for death. Mutalisk, of course, can still survive. Yeah, the protection for Polt is just going to be insane. I mean, the supply difference right now should never be like this when it's Zerg versus Terran. I mean, it's a 70 lead at this point for Nerchio, and for Polt over Nerchio. But Nerchio now, pumping out this Ultras, 54 Zerglings on the way, going to use that Larva.
Yeah, he was really waiting for that Ultra Den to finish just so that he could dedicate whatever money he needed to the Ultras and then spend the rest on Lynx. So unfortunately this base will go down and he'll have to reestablish a fourth.
I like that. Nerchio actively canceling those eggs there. A lot of players will just let them complete because, you know what, why not, I'm Zerg. But getting those minerals back, I mean, already being as conservative as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And wow, we actually do have some Hellbats being mixed into this composition. And I actually really like that from Polt because they really help against Banelings. If you leave them in the front lines, they just fry everything and then soak a ton of hits just like the Marauders do.
Yeah, it's great. They'll kill the first like 4 or 5 Banelings and then soak the next 9 or 10. But Banelings do catch a lot of those wood mines on burrows. Same with the Marines. A bit more damage done than possibly should have been.
Yeah, that's actually really, really nice for Nerchio, able to eliminate some of those widow mines, eliminate a bit of the threat and cost efficiency of the Terran. And he's setting up a sort of arc here to try and take this army out. It's actually not that big anymore though. It's quite in the yellow and orange too.
Yeah. These Ultras as well at the National, they do need to try and get behind this army.
Oh, he might actually cut it in half completely if he can catch those Marines before the second half of the army joins it.
Little mines going off left and right. Unfortunately, a lot of Zerglings do get taken out, but most of the Ultras still alive. Coming in from behind. We'll just get him. Oh my god, sandwich all the Banelings into it. And almost every single Marine dies. Gonna push into this base. Planetary's not finished. Third base under a lot of pressure right now, too. Does clean it up, but Zaffi's gonna lose this. Planetary actually canceled in favor of lifting it off.
Yeah, wow, that was definitely not supposed to happen from Polt. A huge mistake there. 2 medevacs did escape from the initial fight though, and they're just going to heal up, then probably run into the third. So if Polt could do some damage there, that would be great.
Oh, right, I remember that. That's when Flam got lagged. Awkward! But alright, another engagement possible coming up. Meanwhile, we'll get the drop at the top right corner of the map. The third base of Nerchio actually going to be in a lot of danger. This is a huge drop. However, it might not even matter. The Ultra's just going to push forward here. So much damage, so much carnage going down outside of the Polt's base. And, Bailey connects, Widowmine connects. So many explosions, so much death.
Those Widowmine explosions were about the best that Polt could have hoped for, but still, is there enough? He's got a nice choke to engage, and the Ultras are forced to pull back for the time being. And it looked like the drop of the third did get cleaned up, but not before 10 workers were killed. Not too bad.
Thor, the middle of the field does get picked off. A little unfortunate. Again, these Marines beating out this fight. Gonna lose a little more than he wants to. 3 Ultras near death, but here come the reinforcements to replace them as soon as they go down.
Yeah, great micro from Polt, making the most of these units and really making it super difficult for these Ultras to actually get the good engagement that they need to be able to take this bio out. However, in the meantime, they are chewing away at the third. The third base actually goes down, and all that's left is to swing around to the fourth base.
I always find it hilarious, like, chokes, like, ramps, and supply depots and buildings are probably the best counter to Ultralists that there is.
Yeah, no kidding. And they're actually kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place right now.
Oh, the Ultras. The Ultras actually picked off entirely. Nerchio forced to retreat with what he has, suddenly stopping this giant advance that he once had.
I think Nerchio may have overextended here. He still has a supply depot, but his army isn't all together. He has no infestors, and this bio is being microed so perfectly from Polt. It is so cost efficient.
Yeah, but there's only 1 Ultralist left here for Nerchio. It's really scary to see the big part of his army. The expensive part of his army was just kind of mowed down.
Yeah, from only a small group of units to 3 infestors have just now joined the fight. 6 Ultras still out.
Oh, so almost another Ultralisk.
Oh gosh, that's not good.
Both players going to be resetting for the time being, trying to reestablish bases behind this Planetary Fortress. Will do a lot of damage to these Zerglings, but will still, there's no way to save it, not within this force.
Yeah, and this is a really nice win for Nerchio. He needs that base gone.
Oh, but Polt coming in from the top as well. Fungal's only hitting very few units on that side of the map.
Oh, 6 around. He's actually going to be able to take all of these Ultras out. The stimmed units seem to be just a little bit too much.
But the reinforcing Zerglings could be the saving grace. We don't know. The poor Ultras are getting slaughtered, though.
Wow, I can't believe he's getting so much out of these units. These medevacs pretty much have no energy left on them at all for healing, but because there's so many, they're just managing.
Yeah, but even so, the low infantry count kind of guarantees one medevac per person. So the low energy, not that big of a deal, but Woodwide's Big Bro's gonna chase down these drones actually. Do pick off most of the ones trying to retreat from the base, and Nerchio has got to recompose. This is so many banelings.
Yeah, he really can't afford to lose his 4th base again. He's been on even bases with the Terran for the longest time, and Fester goes down at the 4th base as it pops out of the egg. So this is kind of Nerchio's last army. If he loses this, then Polt wins.
Sir, but that Polt also not in too much better position himself, though. I mean, his economy has been taking hits. His base has been rebuilt God knows how many times at this point. And Nerchio really unhappy with the way this is going.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point from Nerchio there. The bio was only 2-2 for the longest time. It's 3-3 now, so that's even more of a sting for Nerchio.
Yeah, it's just the cost effectiveness of these trades, though. I mean, Nerchio can discuss what he liked all day, but the reality is, he sacrificed a lot of Ultralisk. He had that big push, was overextended very shortly. I mean, it's questionable, but like someone being imbalanced versus poor mistakes costing you a game. I mean, the odd mistake here or there does build up.
Yeah, indeed it does. And Nerchio really not with much of an army left. He's down 30 supply on Polt. He needs to take out this base once again. But
oh, the Widowmine hits! Massively good. Banelings will try and crash into the SCVs. Not the best Baneling connects. He's too busy typing instead of microing. And unfortunately, this last Ultralisk, kind of like the Mammoths, are just going to become extinct. Big hits though on these SCVs. 2 of them do somehow barely survive. 1 health remaining each. Drop at the 3rd. Ultra's trying to clean up. However, the big push, the death drop, or not, well, not really drop, but the death push. About to drop Nerchio. There we go. Brought it back. Saved it. Widowmine's burrowed. And Polt with just such a scary meta bio and the ability to reproduce behind this. He has not many SCVs on the field, but I mean, all he's got to do is take out these Ultras because, of course, Nerchio cannot reproduce those. Not effectively. He's got a lot of, well, nothing.
Yeah, the longer he waits, the more chance Nerchio has of getting the army he needs to take this out, but it's still going to be really tough with the great control that we've seen from Polt so far in this game.
Oh, the Evolution Chamber goes down, but that's okay because he has his upgrades at this point. Will try and come in from behind, but unfortunately he gets met by that awkward reinforcement. Now he will actually do a ton of damage to this clump of units, but behind the main army is going to tail. Baneling's doing no damage whatsoever.
He's going to get stuck between the 2 armies. The Ultras have nowhere to go. They're just going to get shredded by the bio.
Yeah, it's just a little too much here for Nerchio. Not even a GG.